Ladies and gentlemen, in 5 minutes we will begin today's session of the 2012 USBC annual meeting. Please clear the floor so we can start promptly, and please silence your phones and any pagers. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome USBC President Andrew Kane.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the final day of the 2012 USBC annual meeting to order. Welcome. Today, we will conduct our official business, including voting for 4 board positions and the legislation. Before we proceed, I'd like to call on USBC Executive Director Stu Upson for the credential report.
Here's the credential report for today. We have 766 association delegates, 7 athlete delegates, 24 USBC board members for a total of 797 voting members. We also have 176 non-voting members for a grand total of 973. Today we're going to cover a lot of important business issues during the business sessions today, but before we do that, we want to show you this very important video. Please run the video. Good morning, everyone. I'm here with Rod Ross, the head coach of Team USA, and Carolyn Doran-Ballard, the director of coaching at USBC. And we're here to talk a little bit about a very intense competition that took place earlier this week at the training center here on campus. The USBC Board of Directors had a tournament, and it was pretty intense. And Rod, can you talk a little bit about some of the training that the board members went through in preparation for this tournament?
Yeah, we put them through some of the basic training that we do, our Team USA and Junior Team USA. We put them through the eye tracking, the body motion analysis, shot repeatability analysis, and we actually got them in super high-speed slow motion so they could see their releases.
Wow, that's impressive. Carolyn, what are you thinking? What do you expect out of this competition?
Well, they worked really hard, and I expect to see some improvement in their physical game and their mental game. And actually, there was a little team camaraderie going on, so I'm expecting a pretty good turnout.
Excellent. Okay, well, let's take a look at the video. We have some highlights from the tournament. Let's take a look right here. Okay, wow. Rod, any comments about this?
I think it speaks for itself, Stu.
Carolyn?
Oh my God, we have a lot of work to do.
Maybe it's not such a great idea to show this at the annual meeting. What do you think? Yeah, forget it. Never mind. Cut. I'm not looking behind me. Are they laughing? Okay, now I would like to introduce Andrew Kane for the President's Report.
Thank you, Stu, and thank you for that wonderful video. We actually don't have the footage of Stu bowling in Baton Rouge, but I can promise you it looks a little bit something like that. All right. I'd like to start this off by telling you just a little bit about myself, because I know some of you, and some of you may not know me. It's been my pleasure to serve on the USBC Board of Directors for roughly 5 years, and it has been an honor to serve as your president for just under 3 months. I live in Phoenix. I'm addicted to watching The Big Bang Theory, and that's another thank you to Stu Upson for getting me hooked on that show, bazinga. I can't live without my iPad. All right, got some fans, all right. I can't live without my iPad. I have 2 wonderful parents, no siblings, and I'm married to a former collegiate bowler who happens to be Canadian, but don't worry, I made her trade in her CTF card to become a proud USBC member. And I was lucky that my birth barely escaped the rise and fall of disco. And for those of you that I just insulted who do like disco, I hope it's some consolation that I really like John Travolta as an actor. So, getting down to the business of USBC and the business of bowling. We all know that our official membership year starts on August 1st, but this convention, in many ways, can be seen as the symbolic opening of a new year for USBC. Convention is not just a notch in the calendar or merely the place to come vote. It's an opportunity to build and strengthen a sense of community among all levels of USBC leadership, to express opinions, share best practices, and generate a deeper awareness about who we are. It's a time to be proactive in learning new changes and engaging in discussions about how we can continue to create lasting changes that will better our organization in the future. Our theme this year is Blazing New Trails. What does that mean? It's not simply changing direction or tilting our heads ever so slightly to alter our perceptions. If you watch American Idol, you always hear the judges rave about making a song someone's own. Blazing New Trails means just that. We need to strive for relevance while creating a modern identity for our organization and the way we do business. Bowling, and the fundamental way in which it's played, hasn't changed, but it has evolved. Colored bowling balls have become scented. Color pin bowling has become a glow-in-the-dark experience. And the incomprehensible cranker style of Mark Roth has given way to the incredible two-handed feats practiced by Jason Belmonte and Oscar Palermo. However, the purpose remains: throw a ball, knock down pins. As the primary membership organization and national governing body of bowling, our purpose is to create lifelong bowlers, and to do so through providing benefits and resources that enhance the bowling experience. Our legacy is merely maintaining an organization that all bowlers can join. Our relevance is in creating an experience that exceeds their expectations and elicits positive, emotional, and rational responses. I think we could all agree that it's painful to discuss our membership numbers. 6.5% annual decrease, with a decrease in youth membership alone that borders on 8%. Internally, those numbers disturb all of us. For someone who knows little about USBC, sharing the fact that we have roughly 2 million members seems like a staggeringly high number. That's even a decent number considering that 70 million people participate in bowling each year. But we don't pat ourselves on the back. We lament the decline because we know where we've been, and we know we're better than that. We know USBC is better than that. While we have yet to realize a true increase, we retain the deeply seated belief that our sport deserves the very best. We all continue to work towards the common goal of creating lifelong bowlers. We've been working hard trying to develop new products and services that capture not only the attention of non-members, but to show them how the goals and identity of USBC enhances the excitement they feel from when they first pick up a bowling ball. Think of USBC like a giant jigsaw puzzle. My grandparents taught me that the easiest way to start a hard puzzle was to search for the edge pieces. Not only were those the easiest to spot, but they formed a distinctive outline that paved the way towards successful completion. You hear a lot about youth. For a moment, imagine that our youth represent the edge pieces. Why? The youth is perhaps the best opportunity we have to innovate, to put together an outline that can form the bedrock of USBC going forward. When we talk about youth, we aren't just merely talking about kids. We are talking about a population segment of our membership that has no misgivings, no criticisms, and no preconceived notions about bowling. They are a clean slate, a group whose sole focus is to play something they love and play it with their friends. Our youth represent the purest form of bowlers, and it is here where they should have their first positive exposure to USBC. Last year you heard about how the organizations comprising the International Bowling Campus formed a team. The IBC Youth Team was designed to place a focus on youth bowling through streamlining our processes and addressing duplication of services. This concentrated focus has led to the growth and success of programs such as USA Bowling and the Yes Fund. For those of you who are unfamiliar with USA Bowling, it's a program designed to offer a more mainstream sports model to our youth. A basic structure is put in place that allows for regular practice, instruction, and helping the youth not only develop their bowling skills, but life skills such as teamwork and fair play. We already have a great deal of promise in high school and collegiate bowling, and this is the next logical piece in developing youth to become lifelong bowlers. USA Bowling is also unique in that it allows us to capitalize on progress towards two goals: increasing youth participation and increasing grassroots coaching. The Yes Fund is an industry-wide initiative, but is spearheaded by the efforts of our IBC Youth Team. You may have seen a lot of recent press that centers on the high school grant program of the Yes Fund, but it accomplishes much more than that. The Yes Fund raises the awareness of bowling, and this is a key component of the strategic plan that Libby will touch on in her report. Perhaps the most important component of youth bowling is the registered volunteer program. Our priority is to make bowling fair and fun for everyone. It's easy to sell fun, and we can regulate fairness. Our children's safety, however, trumps both of those. It isn't always openly discussed, and maybe it should be. As some of you know, we recently announced that effective August 1, 2012, current coaches and prospective coaching candidates must be approved through this process. This is another step in the right direction as we safeguard our future and that of our members. It is simply the right thing to do. Moving back to my jigsaw puzzle, now that we have the border in place, we can start to fill in the middle. The middle is the rest of what comprises USBC. I say it as the rest because we can start anywhere. Sometimes the focus is too narrow, and sometimes we bounce around from piece to piece, only touching on a little section of the puzzle at a time. We could discuss men, women, seniors, lefties, righties, two-handers, and every skill level from novice to elite. To make this exercise more manageable, I'd simply like to talk about leagues. With all the different groups and types of bowlers, one thing remains common among our current members: leagues. Just about everyone bowls in at least one league. And I'll bet we all know that one person who seemingly bowls every night of the week. You could probably turn to the person left or right of you and nod your head right now. I applaud their dedication, but sometimes I wonder, where do they find the time? But it's amazing. But seriously, think about leagues for a moment. Leagues are currently the most basic organizational piece of our business. They are the smallest definable subset through which we can glean some pretty powerful information. Additionally, leagues can often be correlated directly to our membership numbers. A jointly commissioned IBC project was recently completed that provided information on the true problems regarding bowler retention. This study was conducted by a professional researcher, and some of the results, while they may seem obvious, may lead us to think about things a little differently. Maybe they will even help us blaze new trails. Sorry, I had to get that in there. The study consisted of focus groups in various locales comprised of both current and previous league bowlers. One finding, for example, indicated that people generally like league bowling. It's fun and exciting from both a social and a competitive aspect. Sounds like there's a little something in it for everyone. So what's the problem? As it turns out, there isn't really one specific motivator for quitting, but rather a series of issues or annoyances that add up over time. Moreover, these annoyances didn't begin at any one point in time during a league bowler's tenure, but they were built in right from the start. People quit leagues, and on that note, it can be inferred that they quit USBC as well, because of items like embarrassment due to a lack of skill, friends and teammates that leave the league, and league politics. Perhaps the most relevant insight for our organization is that lapsed league bowlers were simply indifferent to whether or not the league was certified. The majority simply didn't care. We were often seen as USBC as irrelevant, an added expense without appreciable benefit, and necessary but not necessarily valued. Leagues are different than most any other activity that people do, and we know that they generally like it. Our vision is to create lifelong bowlers. Although that sounds like we should be signing people up for life right from the get-go, what it really means is that we should be striving to keep people liking leagues and liking USBC just a little bit longer than they do now. If we take steps towards seeing measurable progress, we will reach our long-term goal. As an example, we started the Welcome to Bowling program last year. Stu will talk about some more of the specifics, but the basic idea was to help a new member establish a basic comfort level with bowling and USBC through discounted equipment and easy access to coaching. Activities are generally more fun when there isn't anxiety due to the unknown. But how does all this information help us fill in the puzzle? First, it reinforces our belief that our current products don't appeal to enough people for a long enough period of time, and we aren't very relevant to those who do join leagues. Libby will discuss some of our recent tests and where we stand with our current product development, but one thing is clear. Group appeal and a sense of belonging are outweighed by an overall desire for individual control. USBC is both a membership organization and the national governing body for bowling. The former represents fun, while the latter represents fairness. Bottom line, we can sell fun, but we shouldn't need to sell fair. Integrity and fairness should be a base expectation of membership that is always met or exceeded. Think of it like a car, where the membership are the options and the NGB is the engine. I can pick any options I want to customize the car to my taste, to make it fun for me, but I should always expect it to have an engine. In big, broad strokes, I hope I've been successful in outlining the modern USBC jigsaw puzzle. But now I want it to stay together for other people to admire. We need some glue. Amid all the business that we've conducted this week and that we're going to complete later this afternoon, one thing I don't want any of us to lose sight on is the human element. This is our glue, and let me tell you why. A few weeks ago, I received an email from Mrs. Norma Hornung. Her husband, Gerhard Jerry Hornung, passed away suddenly in November. Why this particular email was moving, I can't truly say. Maybe I identified with her husband, or maybe I was just proud to hear concrete proof about the positive impact bowling and USBC had in someone's life. You see, April 16th and 17th would have marked Jerry's 40th consecutive Open Championships. It's quite a milestone for anyone. She sent me a few photos, one of which showed the spot on his desk that he had carved out for his award. Jerry was a lifelong bowler who bowled 3 or 4 leagues a week, was a director for and Hall of Famer in the Union County, New Jersey USBC, and, according to Mrs. Hornung, loved bowling almost as much as he loved her. And it wasn't so much the die-hard bowler aspect that really impressed me about Jerry's story. His teams at Nationals always had bags, shirts, hats, jackets, and towels that Jerry had embroidered for them. He was adamant about their attire and made it a goal to receive the Pride Award every year. Additionally, he enjoyed just being at the tournament, whether he bowled well or not. There was always a next year in Jerry's mind. Let me back up for just a second to the word pride, and no, that wasn't those weren't their team outfits. Jerry had pride for bowling, and he had pride for USBC. He had fun, but his display of pride truly demonstrates how much he believed in bowling and what the USBC experience provided and meant to him. He wore many hats as a director, an organizer, a tournament player, but above all, he was a member of USBC. As we head forward, I challenge you to forget about the labels we often hear tossed around. Proprietor, Team USA athletes, association representatives. The list goes on and on. Let's be proud to be blessed with the opportunity to be volunteer leaders and to be bowlers. Let's blaze a new trail. Let's be proud to be USBC. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite Libby Fletcher, Chair of the Strategic Planning Committee, to give her committee's report. Thank you.
My name is Libby Fletcher, and I'm a cryaholic. Just getting that out there. Good morning, delegates, members, and guests. It's my pleasure as chairperson of the Strategic Planning Committee to give you a brief update of USBC's strategic plan. Last year, we announced the new mission statement, vision statement, and even provided an elevator speech to better identify USBC, its purpose and vision for the future. The mission statement, which helps an organization focus on what it does best and who it does it for, was modified to be more clear and concise, to provide benefits, resources, and programs that enhance the bowling experience. The new vision statement of USBC, which should support what we aspire to achieve in the next 10 years, is create lifelong bowlers. And the elevator speech. When asked, what is USBC? USBC is the national governing body of bowling. We're a membership organization that provides standardized rules, regulations, and benefits to make bowling fair and fun for everyone. Since that time, the committee, along with Executive Director Stu Upson and the USBC Managing Directors, have worked diligently to determine how to best support the #1 measurable objective of the new strategic plan, which is to provide programs and services which drive membership and revenue, as well as 2 additional objectives, one to support the national governing body and one to support media exposure. With regard to the NGB, the priority is to protect the integrity of bowling. The goal of this initiative is to obtain qualified and active coaches that conduct grassroots educational events across the country. The objective for media is to increase exposure and enhance the image of USBC and organized bowling. The goal is to increase brand relevance and new media exposure using Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TV viewership of USBC shows, email blasts, and bowl.com. Both of these objectives have ongoing action items and metrics for the next 3 years, at least 3 years, to gauge the success of the initiatives. Through many surveys of bowlers at all levels, proprietors, and association leaders, it has become clear that the current membership product and its means of delivery needs to change in order to address the many concerns that were very clear during our survey process. We recognize that we cannot keep trying to sell a membership product from the last century using the same delivery model from the last century. Change is not only needed, but imperative in order for USBC to continue to exist and then flourish again. While we need to maintain our relationship with our current stakeholders, we have an entire group of 70 million people who bowl at least once a year that we need to reach, and our current delivery model is not doing that. We will now look at all of the technology that is available, along with methods of using that technology to enhance the bowling experience, as well as show value to our current and future members to create lifelong bowlers. As some of you are aware, especially if you attended one of the legislative update sessions or webinars, there are currently tests in the field to help us determine the direction of the new membership product or products, as well as possibly delivery options for those products. Test #1, we tested individual award upgrades, which would allow the bowlers to buy enhanced award packages. Test #2 offered no national awards, but the local association would be responsible for all awards. Test #3 was a casual membership package, which is offered to non-league bowlers. Test #4 was a center certification where the proprietor would pay a per-lane fee, and it would also include their professional lane inspection. And test #5 was for league secretary software that would allow league secretaries to upload their league data directly to USBC. All of these tests will not move forward. Some will be enhanced, but one thing is certain, we will not sit still. We will continue working diligently until we have products that show value to all of our stakeholders, members, and future members. We will continue working until we have a delivery system that makes sense for the consumers of today. Stu Upson will give an update on these tests and the viability of the tests going forward in his Executive Director report. The committee recently met and identified that a new membership product or products that provide value to all of the current stakeholders and potential members is key. These products must address the ever-changing needs and concerns of current USBC League bowlers, uncertified league bowlers, casual bowlers who may or may not become league bowlers, the proprietors, and the association leaders. It must also bring value to each of these groups in order to be successful. Staff has been directed by the committee to secure a resource that can provide these products based on the given specifications and must be ready to test in the field during the coming bowling season. More information will be provided during the course of the upcoming season. Once the membership products have been developed, the committee, along with USBC staff, will review the delivery method options, and tests will begin for the delivery portion of this project. The role of the associations is continually being addressed, as it has been for the past few years. Many tasks have been removed as associations have asked not to be burdened with paperwork. Depending on the type of delivery method that is determined to be the most efficient going forward, the role of the associations may continue to evolve into being that of an ambassador of the sport that is so necessary at the grassroots level. Tournament promotion, membership promotion, running halls of fame, working with the proprietors, and coaching at all levels are all necessary requirements that can best be done at the local and state levels. The time has come to blaze new trails. We must now look forward to who our new customers will be. We must look at how to best work with the proprietors who own our playing fields and show relevance of being a partner with USBC so that we can continue to create lifelong bowlers. Special thanks go to the Strategic Planning Committee, Stu Upson, and the managing directors, and especially Jeff Breidenbach, our staff liaison, for their very hard work this past year. Thank you for your attention and your dedication to the sport of bowling to create lifelong bowlers. And now I will turn it back over to Stu Upson. Thank you.
Thank you, Libby. Good morning again, everyone. Before I get into my report, I'm going to share with you an amazing experience I had this past November in Washington, D.C. BPA Director Steve Johnson and I were invited by the leadership of BVL to attend the Veterans Day ceremonies in Washington. And included in our schedule was a breakfast at the White House where we were able to meet President Obama and the First Lady of the United States. Pretty amazing stuff. And here's the president greeting me in the blue room of the White House. You can tell it's a blue room because there's a lot of blue stuff in there. They also have a red room and a gold room, which makes it easy if invitees to the White House kind of wander around where they're not supposed to be. It's easy to get back. Not that that happened when I was there. So anyways, I have to tell you, it was an incredible experience. The President and Mrs. Obama were extraordinarily gracious and friendly and funny. And we had a terrific time talking to them for just a minute or two. And I'll always remember what the President said to me. He said two things. The first was, thank you for all that bowling does for the veterans. He knew about BVL and what the organization was all about. And it really made me extremely proud to be a part of bowling and be a part of this industry. It really did. The second thing the President said to me, and I will always remember this as well, is, what are you knuckleheads at USBC doing? Why can't you get your membership cards out in time? So we have listened to the President of the United States, and we will have a new membership card vendor next year. We're going to be returning to JHL Marketing, and they're a company that we worked with for 15 years, up through 2009, 2010. They were our card vendor. They've done a really good job for us in the past. They know how we operate, and they know what it takes to provide good service for all of us. So we're returning to JHL next year. Now, our current vendor doesn't know this, but I think they will shortly. Now, we tried some new card concepts in the past, and we've worked with other vendors, and unfortunately, they really haven't been able to deliver for us. And while the situation this past year, in many ways was out of our hands because we had little control over what the vendor could do, they really weren't performing, we bear responsibility for it because we selected that vendor. So we apologize greatly for the inconvenience. We know that you all bore the brunt of the concerns and criticism from the membership. We got our share too, but more of it fell on all of you. So we apologize for that, but we're moving ahead with JHL, and we're really confident and comfortable that they'll be able to meet our standards moving forward, as they've done for us for many years in the past. As you can see here, here's some artwork of the new cards. And now I would like to have a moment of silence in memory of magnets. I know a lot of you are disappointed. I can read the audience pretty well here. I know this is sad for all of you, but there will be no more magnet awards next year. Now, instead, we're moving to something I think is pretty cool, and I think you got samples of these in your registration bags. We're moving to bag tags. We're still keeping the lapel pins for those awards as well. We've got these bag tags. You've seen the samples. I think they're pretty cool. They look nice. They're durable. And hopefully our bowlers will display them on their luggage, on their bowling bags. We'll also make a nice earring. Something I might consider this weekend. You never know. But anyway, so we looked at a variety of ideas, and we talked to a lot of people, and we came up with a bag tag idea. We think it'll work. We think it's a good solution, so we're moving forward with it. We're going to talk a little bit about membership. It's been a lot of discussion. We all know what it looks like. This chart shows the forecasted membership for this fiscal year that we're in, the normal decline of 6.5%, pretty much the same as always. And for the first time, we're going to fall below 2 million in total membership for USBC. So what are we doing about it? We've talked about the strategic plan. We'll talk about that more in the end of my presentation here. I'll share with you more details. That's a little bit of a longer-term solution, but near-term, we're trying some things as well. And one of the things we worked on this past year and rolled out was a program called Welcome to Bowling. Did you know that we lose over 50% of our first-year members every year? And on top of that, the number of first-year members is declining. So it's a big problem. If you take the 2009-2010 season as an example, over 170,000 bowlers, first-year bowlers, did not return the next year. 170,000. So if we can make a dent in that and get a meaningful percentage of those 170,000 bowlers to come back, we're making some progress. So we created, and also our research showed that the reason they don't come back is because they don't get better. They don't feel that they can compete in a league. They're not comfortable doing it. So we got together with ball manufacturers to create the Welcome to Bowling program. We sent out postcards to all of our first-year members from last year and offering them the ability to purchase a high-performance ball for $59.95, to get a coaching lesson for $20. And the initial reaction was sort of tentative, but the results are coming in, and we think we have something here. It's too early to call it a success, but the research we've been doing with the bowlers, I forget the number, but a meaningful number of the people who signed up for the purchased a ball, a big percentage said, you know what, I might come back next year. I'm probably going to come back next year. So we're working now with, talking now to manufacturers, distributors, pro shop operators on how to make Welcome to Bowling even bigger and better and make it even more impactful next year. So you'll be hearing more about Welcome to Bowling in the coming weeks. Let's talk about championships for a minute. We're having a very good year in Baton Rouge. Almost 12,000 teams will be participating in the Open Championships. And even, we could do more, but we're somewhat limited by capacity. We have 48 lanes in Baton Rouge. And essentially, we're sold out for April, May, and June at the Open Championships. And one of the new things in Baton Rouge that we tried, we introduced 4 showcase lanes, and these are lanes where bowlers can practice ahead of competition. They can also get coaching lessons, and we launched a VIP membership test, which give bowlers free access to the lanes and other exclusive benefits. And it's really working well, and we plan to roll out the VIP membership next year to include the Women's Championships in Reno. Now this year in Reno, as you can see from the chart here, we will have over 6,100 teams participating in the Women's Championships. That's a significant increase versus the numbers we had last year in Syracuse or the year before that in El Paso. So even though we get the criticisms and concerns from time to time about going back to Reno so often, and we understand that, we continue to get more teams competing in Reno than our other locations. In 2013, as you know, both the Open Championships and the Women's Championships will be in Reno. The Open Championships will be in the National Bowling Stadium. The Women's Championships will be in the Reno Convention Center. Essentially, we will be taking over the city of Reno next year. Now, we also have a multitude of bowling opportunities. One of the great things about this format is, remember that the women, if they choose, can also compete in the Open Championships. We also plan to create more side events at the National Bowling Stadium for everybody to participate in. And we're also working with the city of Reno to create new events, new things for bowlers to do when they're not on the lanes. We understand we have to try to make Reno more interesting and exciting beyond the bowling that we're going to be providing for everybody. Now, the city of Reno has approved funding for major renovations to the National Bowling Stadium. I think we all know it's a great facility, but it opened in 1995 and it needs updating. We also have the opportunity to do some really exciting things inside the facility. Now, if Reno is going to spend millions of dollars to do that, they're going to want us to come back more often, and we're having discussions with them about that. But we're also having discussions with other destination cities about possible long-term relationships, and we're still committed to taking our tournaments to different cities around the country and get as much of a geographic spread as possible as we can. So we'll have more announcements on future tournament dates and locations in the upcoming months. Talk briefly about finances. The last fiscal year, 2010 and 12, we generated a positive change in net assets of almost $4.5 million. That was a really significant process versus previous years, as you can see, when previous years when expenses actually outpaced income. We did this by being conservative and spending on the most important initiatives. I thought it would be interesting for you to see really where we spend our money and where the revenue comes from. Let's talk about income first. This chart shows you that, and these are, by the way, pulled from the audited financials that are in your convention books. But the news here, not surprisingly, is that 90% of our revenue comes from membership dues. That's over $21 million. And our tournaments, the Open and Women's Championships, which is almost $19 million. But don't overlook things like merchandising, sponsorship, advertising, which bring in another $4.5 million. That may seem small in comparison, but it's still a lot of money and very meaningful. Let's take a look at the expense side. We allocate 30% of our spending to tournaments. It's almost $16 million. As you can imagine, running the Open Championships and the Women's Championships for many months are a major and expensive undertaking, but important. The next highest categories are salaries and benefits, promotion and sponsorship, and then awards. Awards account for almost $3 million of our expense budget. So where are we going next year, or for the future? We're on track this year to generate close to $2 million in a positive change in net assets. That's a very good accomplishment. We also, on top of that $2 million, benefited from the sale of the Greendale building last fall. We're pleased with the $4 million price tag. In this market, in the commercial real estate market, in this economy, that's a good achievement. So we're in a good cash position right now. The net here is we're really in a much more solid financial position than we have been in recent years, but we really have to continue to be cautious. We have to spend wisely. We have to do this to ensure the future financial safety of this organization, and then, very soon, we have to start generating revenues because we just can't keep cutting costs. I can't tell you how pleased I am about the work done by the IBC Youth Department this past year. As you recall, we combined the USBC and BPA youth departments into one entity, and the results are already starting to pay off, and eventually will result, I believe, very shortly in growth in USBC membership. I think we're going to do that. The team's working really hard, creating new programs to enhance and expand the youth development ladder, and that starts with Bowlopolis and runs all the way through collegiate. A special note this year was the launch of USA Bowling, and while it's still pretty small in scale, the number of USA Bowling programs launched out there far exceeded our goals. So we will be expanding USA Bowling even further this coming year. It's really an exciting program with a lot of potential. Also of note is a greater emphasis that we're putting on bowler's ed. This has sort of been an ignored area or an underserved area in recent years. This is a key link to promote in-school bowling. It's the link all the way up to high school. So you'll see a lot of effort. We'll be placing a lot of effort behind that this year. I hope you were able to attend the youth seminars this week to learn more about our youth programs. I really encourage all of you to do as much as you can to support youth. I continue to be surprised when someone, there aren't a lot, but some people come up to me and say, youth really isn't that important. I don't get it. It's just the opposite is true. So anything you can do will be greatly appreciated and will help bowling. Another accomplishment this year were changes we made to the Junior Gold Championships. They're taking place this summer in Indianapolis. We all got together and we agreed that our Junior Gold tournament and the BPA North Point tournament really were redundant. In fact, they competed in a way. So we combined them into one mega event, if you will, because there was really no need for both. And we reached out to North Point, and they stepped up in a really big way to support the North Point Junior Gold Championships presented by Brunswick. We've also changed the format. We have new age categories. The results have been outstanding in terms of entries so far. It's incredible. We are possibly on track to set a record for the number of entries in the North Point Junior Gold Championships this year, so that's a great accomplishment for us. You probably all know that we have a new youth jersey coming out. Here you see the artwork for it. This design, the most important thing about this design is the feedback has been incredibly positive from the most important people, the kids. They love this. I'm not wearing this, but the kids will love it. It's also really important to thank the partners of the YES Fund who've contributed to fund really, really important youth initiatives. This coming together of the industry to support youth is an amazing example of how the entire industry should come together, how they should function to support major causes rather than individual agendas. So here are all of our supporters, the members of the Youth Fund. 2 additions versus last year I want to point out. One is North Point Insurance. They are now a Youth Fund partner. And also the New York State USBC, who have stepped up with a major contribution. So thank you very much. Going to talk about SMART for a minute. The Smart Bowling Scholarship Funding Corporation is making tremendous strides. Assets currently exceed liabilities, and the corporation has selected a new investment advisor to help manage the funds using a very conservative investment approach. The primary investment goal of SMART is to preserve funds while still generating investment income that can be returned to the providers for future scholarships. The corporation did a distribution just recently and will continue to do so based on the availability of investment income. Now, and also an important aspect of the SMART program this year was a staff addition we made. We created a position for a SMART enforcement manager who is going to reach out to providers who have not yet submitted funds to SMART. And in a very short period of time, we've generated, or found really, over $250,000 of funds that have been submitted to SMART that were out there, that were outstanding. And we know there's more. So this is a great success because the scholarship money has to go into SMART for the kids. We also will be creating new policies and a new SMART system, which will be introduced in the fall of this year. And I would really like to thank the board members of the SMART Corporation who've really put in a tremendous amount of work. Wally Hall, Sandy Hansel, and Steve Morley. They've really been fantastic. Steve Morley is here today. If any of you have ideas, suggestions, concerns about SMART, Steve would be more than happy to talk to you. Let's talk a little bit about coaching and Team USA. We've talked about it a lot already, but as many of you know, We introduced a coaching recertification program this past year with the objective to ensure that coaches are up to date but also active. We have lots of coaches who are terrific, but they're just not active anymore. We want certified active coaches out there in the field. And we're very pleased with the number of coaches who did recertify, and the current number of active gold, silver, and bronze coaches now totals over 3,100. We also announced this past week an initiative that requires all USBC certified coaches to be RVP approved, regardless of whether or not they coach youth. Effective August 1 of this year, all new coaching candidates will have to pass RVP to be certified, and for currently certified coaches, RVP will be part of their continuing education process. This is an extremely important thing. We all need to be incredibly aware of safety issues involving our youth. We've talked about it before. You know what happens with other sports, some of the issues that they've had with coaches. God forbid that happen to us. The number of kids in this country who in some way are molested around, it's staggering. Staggering. And if you apply that percentage to our 200,000 youth bowlers, it's sobering. So please, support everything we can do with RVP. Team USA had an amazing year. 2012 had impressive performances in the Women's World Championships in Hong Kong and also the Pan Am Games in Guadalajara, Mexico. In the Women's Worlds, Team USA dominated with 3 gold medals and a total of 7 medals overall. Shannon Plahowski was particularly amazing with 5 medals, including 4 gold. And at the Pan Am Games, we took 3 out of 4 gold medals and a silver medal. So I would like to ask for a big round of applause for our Team USA athletes and coaches. Technology. We are working on a new membership system, a new CRM system. We've been working on it for a while. We're making sure it's right. We are going to have an internal meaning not yet available to the associations. The internal launch will be August 1st of this year. So what that means is that WinLabs will continue for 2012 and 2013. As we start to roll out the CRM system and the processing system to the associations, we'll start to do that probably in 2013 and 14. We're going to do it slowly. And as I've told you before, we will launch no program before it's time. We'll test thoroughly. We're already getting a lot of feedback from our our association IT task force. Before we roll out anything, we're going to get feedback from you along the way. I'm really pleased with the progress we are making, but we are going to be very cautious and comprehensive in our approach. But this is going to be a great system for all of us as we eventually replace WinLabs. In terms of media and marketing, technology, social media, we're doing big things, but we're still pretty small in terms of the impact that, or the opportunities that we're taking advantage of with social media, but we're making great strides. It continues to be the bigger and bigger way to communicate with our constituents. We introduced the new bowl.com this year. It's working very well. It's more appealing visually. It's easier to navigate, but we've maintained all the things that you need to use it as a business tool. Just so you know, we average over 350,000 unique visitors to bowl.com each month. Those are huge numbers. We also have 70,000 Facebook fans. We all know about Facebook, and we know that the impact it has not only in the way we communicate, but the impact it has on society. 70,000 Facebook fans. We are the most popular bowling brand on Facebook. We also have close to 5,000 Twitter followers. In the area of live streaming, I hope you've been able to watch some of the events we live stream. And this year, we're going to live stream 20 events, providing 60 days of coverage, and that will generate over 700,000 views. Pretty impressive numbers. We're also continuing to develop the electronic version of US Bowler. It is a great product, but the challenge we have is not enough people are reading it. We have to find ways to get more people to open up that electronic magazine. It's still a work in progress. We have to figure that out. Now, in our partnership with Luby Publishing, who is the publisher of US Bowler and also Bowler's Journal, We have a program where USBC members and associations now have the opportunity to take advantage of several things. You can offer partial subscriptions for your members to purchase. You can purchase subscriptions at a big discount for your board members and constituents. You can also take part in a special advertising section that US Bowler plans to run to recognize your Hall of Fame recipients or other award winners. So US Bowler has lots of opportunities for the association to take advantage of. So I really encourage you, if you haven't done it, find Keith Hamilton. He's here today. Call him up because there's some pretty exciting opportunities for Luby Publishing and US Bowler to offer you, the associations. We have to thank our major partners. That slide I showed you before, the revenue we generate from this group of partners is really impressive and really important to us. They're a vital part of our success, not only because of the revenue, but also for the quality of the products and the service that they offer to our members. Our partners make us look good. So I want to read this list to you, and then I would like to ask for a round of applause to these partners. Humana, Nationwide, Circus Reno, El Dorado, Silver Legacy, Harrah's Reno, the Belle of Baton Rouge, Sands Regency, Storm, and North Point. Thank you very much for all of your support. We also need to be extremely proud of the work that we all do in the community. We celebrated our relationships with BVL and Susan G. Komen for the Cure yesterday. And I also want to recognize our partnership with Special Olympics, which has many facets, including a test we're doing, a membership test with USBC and Special Olympics in the state of Ohio. We do amazing work. I've had the pleasure of working in many industries, many sports industries, with teams and leagues and associations in my career, and I can tell you that no industry does more than bowling for charity. Nobody beats us. So I think all of you need a round of applause for all of the work that you do in the community. Now I'm going to finish up talking about the strategic plan, giving a little bit more information. We all know we want to create lifelong bowlers. Before I do that, though, I'm going to show you this video. It's a short video that ran on the USA Today website, and it's under a program that they called Family Traditions. And the family you're about to see, their tradition is bowling. Let's run the video.
We're the Goodkins, and our fresh take on family time is Family Bowling Night.
Who says family traditions have to be traditional?
Go! That's a wrap.
These are fresh takes on family time. Powered by Subway.
I'm Dan Goodkin.
And I'm Alyssa Love Goodkin.
And after every family event, we all put on our shirts and we go bowling. It can be anything from a holiday like Thanksgiving to even straight from the wedding reception to the bowling alley.
It really keeps us all together. We really genuinely like each other, and as a family, it's just something for us all to do.
We have upwards of 30 first cousins now, and we wanted it to be exclusive to just the cousins.
There's this system of cousins with a capital C. If you pass their scrutiny, then you're good enough for the family.
Getting your bowling shirt is the official welcoming as a permanent member of our cousins crew.
The tradition with the shirt started about 13 years ago.
If we're at a family event,
have your shirt.
And we're all together, you should have your shirt just in case. There's two ways that you can get your bowling shirt. One of them is to turn 13 and have been born into the family. Jonah is the recipient of the most recent bowling shirt because he just turned 13.
Every time I saw someone get a shirt, it was like the biggest deal. And I couldn't wait till they gave me my shirt because I was like, I'm recognized by the family.
And the other is to marry into the family.
Which I did. I married him, I got my shirt.
I'm Jonathan. I'm married to this person, married to Katie.
The latest to get their bowling shirt by marrying into the family is Katie.
Well, I went bowling my first time I met them and was immediately jealous of the shirts. Was immediately told by all the in-laws that I wouldn't get one unless I married. All the cousins gathered together. Daniel presented it to me, and he made a little speech to the family about how they really knew I was only marrying Jonathan to get the bowling shirt. After they put the shirt on me, I invited anybody in the family. I said, come on down to the bowling alley. We have some lanes reserved.
It was just a lot of fun and something to share with our family, and just really great to be able to experience that together as newlyweds.
It doesn't really matter that I hit the gutter 9 times out of 10.
None of us are really bowling that strongly tonight.
The most competitive person here is my brother-in-law, Seth.
It's not personal. It's just whoever has the higher score at any particular moment is who I'm gunning for.
None of us are going to be on the PBA circuit anytime soon.
It really is about just being here with the family and connecting with the family.
It's more about the chatting in between throwing the ball than actually throwing the ball.
Just like, it's really different because normally I only see my parents as like telling me what to do and being really controlling and all the things that parents do. But here, it's like we're all hanging out and bowling. I've already decided that this will be a thing. It's something that keeps our family really close and keeps us wanting to like come to traditions. It's on my calendar, you know, it's all set in stone already. I don't think they know that, but I do.
Isn't that great? It's a great piece. It's a great family that loves bowling. I just love watching that video. But here's the problem. I will bet you that few, if any, of the members of the Goodkin family are USBC members. And that's a shame, because they are exactly the type of people we need to reach out to with a product that they want to buy. They need to become a part of our family. They love bowling, they bowl a lot, but they're not serious league bowlers. So how do we bring them in? How do we make them part of the USBC family? That's the challenge of the Strategic Planning Committee and all of us here, because there are millions of Goodkin family members out there, and we need to find a way to reach out to them. So as you know from Libby's presentation, and if you attended any of the new membership products workshops, we've been testing a lot of things over the past year or two. It's been a pretty long process, somewhat tedious, and sometimes very frustrating, because it takes a long time to do it right, and we can't make any rash decisions, but it's also very complicated. There are no easy solutions to this problem or to this challenge. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit more detail of these tests, and then Libby did it, but I'm going to provide some more detail and some findings that we found, and then talk a little bit about the next steps. So we conducted 5 tests this past year. And I'm going to get into more detail of each of these, but in Greater Tyler, Texas, we tested the concept of award upgrades. In 3 associations, Denton, Texas, Sierra Gola, California, and in southern New Hampshire, we tested the idea of no national awards. The casual membership product, a product to reach out to the non-league bowlers, if you will, we tested that in 12 different centers across the country. In Yuma, Arizona, and Abilene, Texas, we looked at the center certification model, and in Lincoln, Nebraska, we continued to take a look at league secretary software and electronic transferring of funds. So let's get into a little bit more detail here without boring you too much. Award upgrades. In this program, there was a lower cost of membership. In Tyler, it was $7, and it doesn't include awards. But the bowlers have the option to purchase upgrades for awards, and the local association received a commission of 15% on that. The net of it is that only 8% of the members chose to upgrade. So this really, it was surprising that it was that low, but I'm not surprised because of all the research we've done over the couple of years. A lot of people love awards. A lot of people don't give a hoot about awards, okay? And they certainly are showing here they don't want to pay more for them, okay? So some bowlers want awards, but even they, only 8% are saying, you know what, I'll pay more to get those awards. So I think that's very interesting. Test number 2 was no national awards. And this test was really interesting because we've heard from a lot of you out there, and I think you're right, that you know your bowlers better than anybody. You know what they want and you know what they don't want. So in this test, the local association determined their own local dues. There was no limit on that, and they provided the awards. Special achievement, honor scores. They had, and they have the ability to source them through us because we can get great pricing because of all the awards we buy with $3 million. And a couple of the associations chose to go through us, and one of the associations just went on their own. But they could buy whatever awards they wanted. And the feedback we've been getting was, hey, this could work. The bowlers liked it. The associations had control over pricing. They had control over what awards they buy. They weren't stuck with magnets if they didn't want them. But they're all going to want these, I can tell you that. Okay? So this is an interesting concept, giving the local associations more control, or really total control, over the award process, because there were no national awards in this test. Casual membership. This is a program to attract the Goodkin family. There are millions of those Goodkin family members out there. They bowl often. They're not in a certified league. They may not even be in any league, or maybe their organized play is only getting together with the family once a month. That's a great target for us. So we created a program which is available to all the bowlers in the center, and is marketed in that center, and the bowlers can access it through a mobile app on their smartphone or on their slide changer. Just kidding. So pretty interesting stuff. And we did different tests. We had some where the membership was free, and we did some markets where the membership cost 99 cents, which, as you know, is the cost of an app, of buying a high-level app. What do the bowlers get? They get all sorts of local, regional, and national discounts with retailers. They get special offers from the bowling center. They can track their scores. They get coaching videos. And they also get communication, either from USBC, whether it could be us, it could be the local association, or it could be the proprietor. So it's a different way to offer a different product to those casual members. Here's some of the artwork we did. You can see the smartphone. You can see what the app looks like. So you could just walk in the bowling center. There would be a big display, several of the tabletop tents, and all you have to do, take your smartphone, swipe it, put in your information, and you're active. You get to become a member of USBC. This is what if you don't want to use your cell phone or your smartphone, you're not comfortable doing that, you can go online and do it. Here's a copy of here's a shot of the homepage of what it looks like and all the benefits that you can get. That concept is interesting. Still a lot of work to be done. What we did in those 12 markets, it's very encouraging. We're not there yet. But clearly the concept of creating a casual membership, or a membership that applies to the Goodkin family, that's where we need to be going. We also looked at the concept of certifying a center. So in a couple markets, we create a program where the proprietor pays $50 per lane bed. In exchange for that, we will offer the Pins and Perks program, that casual membership I just described to you. That will be offered to all of the bowlers within that center. And also the proprietor, the center, gets professional lane inspection as part of that price, so they don't have to pay more for that. It's still really early on to determine whether this test is working or not, but it's got potential. We're not really concerned about delivery at this point, and we'll talk about that in a second. But clearly, the concept of delivering memberships through an overall center certification model needs to continue to be studied and evaluated. And finally, League Secretary software and electronic funds transfer. We did this in Lincoln, Nebraska. It's a standard membership product, but in this case, the League Secretaries transmit the data to USBC headquarters, and also we expanded this year, and then we receive the money electronically from the proprietor. There's still some system things to work out. This is not a perfect system at this point. It may never be. And I know this is a concept that really makes some people nervous, maybe even angry. But you still have to always investigate new ways of doing business, new way of processing memberships. This may or may not be one of them, but it's something that we have to continue to look at. Okay, so where are we going? The key next steps for the committee is to focus on the product. If we create a membership product that people want to buy, we will be successful, and we'll worry about how we deliver it later on. And we'll figure out the role of the association later on. The key factor here is create a membership product that provides value. It has to provide value to the bowler, most importantly. It has to provide value to the proprietor, because they have to buy into all of this. If it doesn't work for them, then we fail. And then we will figure out how it works for all of you. If we come up with a great product, we will be successful. But we can't let delivery, we can't let the role of the association get in the way at this point, because we don't have that product yet. We're making great strides, but we're not quite there yet. If we focus on the product, it will work. So our goal is to have a product in test market by January of this year, and then we'll talk more about the delivery system and the role of the association after that. As we talk about the role of the associations, I know that there's sentiment out there that we're trying to put the associations out of business. And I will reiterate what I said last year, and I will say it forever and ever, that that sentiment is dead wrong. Why would we want to eliminate the most important source that we have right now for ambassadors in the field, are volunteers? It makes no sense. Now, as Libby said, could the role change? Absolutely. It's going to have to. But we'll figure out what that is. It may be membership processing, and maybe not. It could be dozens of other things. There are lots of things that you all can do out there beyond processing memberships. And that ties into my final comment to you. I've often heard from many people out there in the field that you've got difficulty attracting new, younger members into your organization and into your leadership roles within the associations. And that's a really serious issue. It impacts all of you, impacts all of USBC. All of you are tremendously dedicated to USBC, and I do want to continually, as we all do, thank you for everything that you do for USBC and for bowling. But you know what? You're not going to want to do this forever. So who is your next generation of leaders within your association that are going to help us grow? Who are your Andrew Canes out there who are going to be able to step up and lead your associations? It has to be the young adults, the young adult bowlers out there. And that's not easy, because they don't really want to hang out with us. I know from my own personal experience, the only way young folks want to hang out for me is two reasons. One, I might hire them, or two, maybe I'll pick up the dinner tab. Other than that, we're not fun. But you know what makes them excited? Challenges, change, technology. If you want to attract young adults into your associations, you have to change, you have to make it exciting. Processing memberships is not exciting. The status quo is not exciting. So that's a challenge we all have. But I think we can do it. I think we can change. I think we can work together to figure this out, create a great product, and figure out how to sell it to the most important consumer. Not just our members, those millions of bowlers out there who love bowling. I really appreciate all of you being here. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me. That is the end of my report. Now it's time for our industry updates. Normally we have leaders from different bowling organizations come up and talk briefly about what's going on in their worlds, and we're going to do that today. But I have to tell you, I'm a little disappointed because normally Steve Johnson, my friend and the executive director of the BPA, would be here, but Steve chose to attend a wedding this weekend. I'm going to a wedding instead of being here at the annual convention? Come on, Steve. So I'm a little annoyed. Steve and I, we've been working well together, and USBC and BPA are doing great things, and Steve chose not to be here. Now, the fact that it's his son's wedding might be a factor. So congratulations to Steve and Cheryl and their son Chase and his future bride, whose name I forget, but she's very nice. So Steve couldn't be here, but he wishes he could have been and wishes you all the best. Also, unfortunately, Dr. Michael Boykins was scheduled to be here, but he did have a death in his family, so he couldn't make it. But fortunately, Perry Daniels, USBC board member, has volunteered and was asked by Dr. Boykins to come in and address you about what's going on with the TNBA. Perry, welcome.
Thanks, Stu, and good morning. I talked to Dr. Boykins, and he asked me to do two key things today. As many of you all may know, this is his last term, or his last year. He's termed out as the national president for the National Bowling Association. So he wanted to do two things. And as far as the industry update, number one, he wanted me to share some things with the USBC that TNBA and USBC are doing together as partnership. And also he wanted to thank a few key people in the industry that has assisted him during his 4 years in enhancing the relationship between TNBA and key entities in the bowling industry. So first, let me share a couple of things that we are doing together, TNBA and USBC. And one of the key things that we touched on, Andrew touched on earlier about putting together the puzzle, is the youth. And for the last few years, we have been bringing our TNBA youth to the campus to experience some of the training and coaching that the Team USA members experience. And so Dr. Borkins wanted to thank our junior bowling coordinator, Barbara Armstead, along with Rob Ross and Kim, for all the time that they spend working with our youth. So Kim, Rob, and Barb, a big thank you from Dr. Borkins for that. And, well, go ahead. Also, as far as our elite bowlers go, once a year in February, we have our national scratch tournament. And in cooperation with the USBC, we do a live broadcast on bowl.com of our championship round. And also the winners of the men and the women divisions get a free entry into the Masters and to the Queens. And so Dr. Borkins wanted to make sure that we thank our national tournament director, Luther Moses, and Eric Kearney for making that happen. So Eric, Luther, thank you. And also, Dr. Borkins wanted me to give a big shout out and a big thank you to members of BPAA. He wanted to thank John, he wanted to me to give a big thanks to John Berglund and Joe Schumacher, and also Steve Johnson, although he's not here, he's at a wedding. Big thanks to Steve, and also to John Snyder. So big thank you to BPAA for all you do for TNBA. And also on the USBC side, of course, Stu, Andrew, Dr. Borkins wanted me to give you all a big shout out. And during Dr. Borkins' first year, Jeff Boget was very instrumental. He wanted to give a big thanks to Jeff Boget. Also to Darlene Baker, Doc wanted me to give you a big shout out and thanks. And he appreciated the phone call, expressing sympathy during this time. And also we wanted to give a shout out to a gentleman that wears both hats, and that's Jim Stearns. So Jim, wherever you are, Dr. Borkins want to say thank you. And as one special person that Doc said has been instrumental during his 4 years as president of TNBA, and that young lady has also been very helpful to me as the number of years I've been on the USBC board. And so we wanted to give a big shout out to Sylvia Boyles. So Sylvia, where are you? Stand up. Sylvia has been a longtime friend of TNBA, and Sylvia, we really thank you for that. And so just in closing, Dr. Borkins wanted to make sure that USBC knows that we at TNBA, we share the vision. And as USBC blazes new trails, that you have a partner in TNBA, and in sportsmanship, fellowship, and friendship, that we will be a longtime partner with USBC. And so on behalf of our national president, Dr. Borkins, our executive secretary, Annette Samuel, thank you, USBC, for all you do for TNBA.
Thanks, Barry. Next up is Jeff Reese. Jeff is the new CEO of the PBA. We've done a lot of work with the PBA in the past and in current years. The relationship is terrific, and Jeff really brings some new ideas and exciting opportunities, not only for the PBA, but for USBC working with the PBA. So please welcome Jeff Reese.
Good morning. I really appreciate the opportunity that Stu, Andrew, the board, and the delegates have afforded me to give you an update this morning. I'll be incredibly brief because I know you guys have a lot of work to do. I think Libby, it was the point you made about being a cryaholic, and I wasn't one until I started running the PBA. But I'll try to make it through the next couple minutes without breaking down and weeping, just because it would really be unpleasant for everybody. As many of you know, we're just coming out of what we think is a terrific season, season where we had fantastic competition, the world's best bowlers just regularly putting on a great show. A year where our live television ratings, which are really a critical metric for us, grew about 25% year over year, and the excitement of the year that we had from the competitive front carried over into what we think is one of the most interesting and compelling Player of the Year stories that we've had, and then we'll continue to play that out over the course of the next month or so as folks vote for their favorite among what we think are three incredibly strong candidates, actually three primary candidates as we wind up our season. As we look forward to the next season, there are really two main thoughts that I'd want you to take home with you and have in mind as you watch what we're going to be doing, because what we do and the way we evolve will make a lot more sense if you have that context. And they're very consistent, and I take a lot of pleasure in the fact that they're very consistent with many of the things that I think Stu spoke about. One is that for the PBA to grow, for the PBA to thrive, we need to do a much better job of crossing over the appeal of what we do to bigger audiences. It's the same thing about reaching out to a larger subset of not just bowlers, but sports fans in general. So that means building appeal in terms of what we're doing from the quality of our presentation on television and bringing more sports fans into watching bowling on television. And just as importantly, in some ways more so, is extending that appeal to the non-endemic brands to support the sport. We need to develop the consumer-based sponsorships to really drive the value so we can have the prize funds, the kinds of events, the number of events, the diversity of events in terms of how they're running all over the country that people associate with the PBA Tour. So we need to cross over, we need to get out there, we need to appeal. The second is the way that we work with the rest of the industry. And the importance of that is built on this notion, right, that a strong and healthy and vibrant PBA that displays the world's best bowling on a regular basis on national television, and for that matter all over the world, can play a fundamental role in the overall health of the sport. And what that notion is going to be predicated on, though, is that the PBA maybe has gotten a reputation over time for wanting a lot of folks to come do things for us. And who doesn't like to have folks do things for us, right? It makes your job easier, it makes you stronger. But what I want you to understand and appreciate is how hard we're going to work to make sure that we're taking the assets that the PBA has at its disposal on television, digitally, what we do with a significantly large regional footprint, and make those assets available to our partners in the industry as well. This is not about an agenda of PBA. This is not an agenda about any one entity within the sport. It's an agenda about bowling. And it's a notion that bowling gets stronger as we start to connect the dots between those entities, as we start to develop programs that are good for membership organizations, good for proprietors, good for Professional Bowling Association, that all of those organizations get stronger because of it. So we're going to be out there chasing as many opportunities as we possibly can to create programs that make sense, that create value. The key thing that Stu spoke about when he talked about building new programs is recognizing that the programs you build have to deliver value. They have to deliver value to our sponsors, to our TV audiences, and to our partners in the industry. So again, I appreciate your time. I'm relatively new to this industry, but know that I come to it with an incredible amount of respect and appreciation for the passion that drives this sport at every level. We are the beneficiaries of a tremendous amount of help from volunteers, the work that our players put through, our families put through, our audiences, our sponsors, and at any extent at all that we can capture the passion that you bring to bowling to help build these showcases of the world's best bowlers across television. I know it will make us more successful. So thank you all very much and enjoy your time here.
Okay, it's time for a short break. We will break for 15 minutes, so please be back here at 10:05 when we will start the legislative session.
Yeah, come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Let's go, guys. Let's go. Number one, let's go. Great, come on.
ese amor llega así, esta manera, no tiene la culpa. Caballo le dan sabana, porque es muy despreciado, por eso no te perdono llorar. Ese amor llega así, esta manera, no tiene la culpa. Amor de compra y venta, amor del pasado. Ven, Belén, ven, Belén, ven, Belén, ven, ven, Belén, ven, Belén. Bambolea, porque mi vida yo la prefiero vivir así. Bambolea, porque mi vida yo la prefiero vivir así. No te da perdón de Dios. Tú eres mi vida, la fortuna del destino. El destino te desaparado. Lo mismo ya callé, lo mismo soy yo. No te encuentro lavando. Eres posible, no te encuentro de verdad. Por eso un día no cuento así de nada. Lo mismo ya callé, lo pienso en ti. Bambolea, porque mi vida yo la prefiero vivir así. Bambolea, porque mi vida yo la prefiero vivir así. Bambolea, porque mi vida yo la prefiero vivir así. Bambolea, porque mi vida yo la prefiero vivir así. Bambolea, porque mi vida yo la prefiero vivir así. Bambolea, porque mi vida yo la prefiero vivir así.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will be beginning the legislative session momentarily. As soon as you get your voting devices, please make your way to your seats. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be beginning the legislative session here momentarily. Please take your seats and clear the floor. If you do not have a voting device, please raise your hand and one of the USBC staff members will assist you. Again, please clear the floor, silence your phones and pagers. We'll be beginning momentarily. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back USBC President Andrew Kane.
Just to be sure, does everybody have a voting device? If not, again, please raise your hand and let us know if you don't have one. Staff will assist you. A couple of quick notes before we start the legislative session. If we happen to finish the legislative session early, we will continue. That was a good joke, I guess. Okay. Well, I didn't tell enough earlier, so I figured I'd get another one in there. All right. But if that, in fact, happens, we will continue through the agenda until we reach an appropriate time to break for lunch, but it will not be later than noon. Now to start, actually, we have an updated credential report. From the time the credential report was read this morning to the official close of registration, we had one additional registration. Those numbers? The slides? Seven. I can't see them. There we go. We have 767 association delegates, 7 athlete delegates, 24 members of the board of directors, for a total voting strength of 798. And non-voting members 176 for a grand total of 974. And I've got a moth attacking me. Okay. Again, before we get started, I'd also like to recognize our 2 delegates that were appointed to sit with staff over here on the stage during the legislative session, and they will also be on hand to verify the voting for the board elections. I'd like to introduce Cheryl Pollock from Greater Houston. If you could please either stand or raise your hand. And Al Denton from Wyjon USBC. Now, please welcome Legal and Legislative Committee Chair Tamara Adams to begin the legislative segment of our annual meeting.
Thank you, Andrew. And good morning, everyone. As we enter this legislative session, please refer to your bylaws amendment booklet that you were given at the registration. Does everyone have one of these? Andrew will chair this session. I will announce each proposed amendment. If the proposed amendment comes from a committee and through the USBC Board of Directors, they do not require a second, and once announced, the motion is on the floor for discussion. I will advise you of the recommendation from the USBC Board of Directors, and the presenter of an amendment will be given the first opportunity to speak. If there is an amendment to the proposed amendment that was printed in the booklet, we ask that when possible, they are submitted in writing prior to coming to the floor for clarification and correctness. Amendments to a proposed amendment are voted on prior to the action on the proposed amendment as printed in the booklet. The chair will state the amended version on which you will be voting. A delegate or registered attendee is allowed 2-minute discussion and, when needed, a rebuttal of an additional 2 minutes once all first-time speakers have had their opportunity to address the delegation. Please go to a microphone where there is a USBC staff member and notify the chair. The chair will recognize the number of the microphone, and when it is your turn, please state your name clearly and the association which you represent. At that point, your 2 minutes begin. Discussion will continue on a proposed amendment until the chair deems it is appropriate to vote or there has been a motion to call for the question. You should have received an electronic voting device. They will be used in place of a written ballot, and this was approved by the delegation 3 years ago. Please note that for any amendment needing a ballot vote, President Kane will announce the number on your voting keypad to use. If you are voting in favor of the amendment, if you want to adopt the amendment, you will press 1. If you are not in favor of the amendment, you want to reject it, you will press 2. For the league rules and the tournament rules, a majority vote is needed to adopt. For bylaws adoption, it requires a 2/3 vote of those eligible to vote. I know this isn't going to happen, but if you do make a mistake, quickly press the number you want, as the machine only records the final number that is entered. If you have a problem with your keypad, please raise your hand immediately and a staff member will come to assist you. If you need to leave the room, you must surrender your keypad at the door to a designated USBC staff person. When you return, you will be given another voting device. I would like to introduce the individuals up here on the stage with me to my right, which is your left, that I may call upon during the session to help answer questions. Tom Bluth, who is the USBC Vice President, is a member of the Legal and Legislative Committee. Tom, you want to wave your hand? That's right, my right. Sue Hubel, Mark Martin, Kelly Kulik, Wendy McPherson, Mike Italia, Joe Diamond. Mike Spritko, who is the Managing Director of Rules and Association Services at USBC, Laurie Smetic, who is a Rules Counselor, and Derek Off, who is a Rules Counselor. I would also like to introduce to you our legal counsel and parliamentarian, Thor Lundgren.
Morning.
Wake up, Thor. Now that we are all well versed with our procedures and people involved, let's get started. Please open your book to page 1. LR1 is the creation of a new rule. The USBC recommends a reject vote.
The motion is open for discussion. Is the proposer of the amendment present? Seeing no discussion, we will proceed to the vote. Press 1 to approve and 2 to reject.
Pardon me.
Voting is now closed. By your actions, you have rejected LR1. Oh, do we have the count? Total count. 730 to reject, 56 approve.
To approve. You ready?
Yes.
LR2, Rule 113B, Procedures. The USBC Board of Directors recommends adopt.
The motion to accept LR2 is, the motion for LR2 is open for discussion. Yes. Gentleman at microphone 1.
Hi, thanks. Bill Dennis, proposer. This is pretty straightforward, not much to it. Basically addresses leagues that are using multiple week playoff systems. We have a couple that have, in fact, 4-week playoff systems, and currently none of those averages are being reported in the final average report. Meanwhile, other teams are bowling doubles tournaments, single tournaments, or some kind of contest to get out of planning the league banquet. Since all of these are important, that's the reason for the proposal. Thank you.
Is there any additional discussion on LR2? Seeing none, we will proceed to voting on the motion of LR2 requiring games bowled in a playoff or special contest to count towards averages. Please press 1 to approve the motion and 2 to reject it. Polling is now closed. Percentage. By your actions, you have approved LR2 with a total vote count of 518 to 271. Percentages?
LR3, pardon me, Rule 118B, how established. The USBC Board recommends adoption.
Is there any discussion on this amendment? Seeing no discussion on LR3, we will proceed to vote. The polls are now open. Please press 1 to approve LR3 and 2 to reject it. Polling is now closed. By your actions, you have adopted LR3. A total vote count of 601 and 182 against.
Rule proposal LR4, Rule 120, position matches. The USBC Board recommends adoption.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we will proceed to the voting on LR4 as stated. Please press 1 to approve and 2 to reject. Polls are now closed. By your actions, you have adopted LR4 by a total vote count of 725 and 58 against.
TR1, Rule 319E, conditions that apply. The USBC Board recommends adoption.
Is there any discussion on TR1? Seeing none, we will proceed to voting. The polls are now open. Please press 1 on your device to approve and 2 to reject. Polls are now closed. By your actions, you have approved TR1 by a total vote count of 662 for and 125 against.
TR2, Rule 319C, average adjustment. The USBC Board recommends rejection.
Is there any discussion on proposed amendment TR2? Seeing none, we will proceed to vote. Please press 1 to approve TR2 and 2 to reject. Polling is now closed. By your actions, you have rejected TR2 by a total count of 82 for and 705 against.
B1, to the USBC National Bylaws, Article 3, Membership and Dues, Section B, Duties. The USBC Board recommends rejection.
Would the proposer of the amendment like to speak? Is there any additional discussion on B1 as stated? Seeing none, we will proceed to voting. Polling is now open. Please press 1 to approve B1, and please press 2 to reject Amendment B1. By your actions, you have rejected Proposal B1 by a count of 184 for and 600 against.
B2, USBC National Bylaws, Article 4, Board of Directors, Section E, Authority and Duties, Item 16.
The chair would like to recognize the gentleman at microphone 3.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rod Polich, Illinois Bowling Association President. Mr. President, I would like to make an amendment to this amendment in determining dues number 5 I would like to add with a maximum limit of $15. This motion to amend is neither to support or oppose the proposed amendment, but if this amendment does pass, we have to have a reasonable limit that the National Association can charge for membership.
Is there a second? Recognizing a second? Do you have, oh.
Keith Cornick, Chicagoland, USBC. I second the motion.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Oops. With this amendment, B2 would read to be stated as capping the maximum amount the National Board can set on national dues to $15. Is there any discussion on this amendment? Seeing none, we will vote on the amendment to B2. This amendment requires a majority vote. Please press 1 to approve and 2 to reject. The polls are now open. By your action on the motion to amend B2, you have approved by a count of 502 for and 282 against. We will now, I'm sorry.
Would you please repeat that count for me again, please, Mr. President?
The count is 502 approve and 282 reject.
Thank you.
The motion carries. Now we will return to vote or for further discussion on B2 as amended to state the caps of the maximum amount the National Board can set on national dues to $15. Is there any further discussion on B2 as amended?
Jerry Anderson, Dallas USBC Bowling Association Manager. This amendment to the amendment, does it still allow the national body and other bodies on 3 and 4, to change the increase in the dues, or do the delegates still get to vote on it in the future?
The way the amendment to the proposal is stated is the USBC Board of Directors would have the jurisdiction to increase dues not to exceed the cap of $15.
But I'm talking about in the future.
National dues.
I don't understand, Mr. Anderson, what you mean by in the future.
The next time that you want to dues increase, are you going to be able to do whatever you want to do next time?
As long as it is within the $15. Yes, we can.
Okay.
Thank you. Pardon me while I cough.
Gentleman at microphone 3.
Jay Derryman, Pennsylvania State Youth Association. Just a few years ago, the Board of Directors approved the change to the youth membership packages. That also included major changes in the dues structure for youth. Though that change hasn't necessarily produced the results that we were hoping for, but it gave our youth members some products to choose from and added value to the membership. Today, you're asking permission to raise dues on the board level at the national level, yet we don't have an approved program or a change in our product. It's very difficult to go back to the home base and sell our current memberships without a change in a dues increase with no change in our product. Though I'm a USBC strong supporter and believe in the core of what USBC stands for, I feel we're putting the cart before the horse. I feel that the USBC Board of Directors needs to give us a complete membership package plan after all this testing is complete, because we've been hearing testing for years, of where we're headed in the future with membership products, that we can go back and sell either tiered membership, different levels of membership, or dues increase to our members and help grow the sport. Thank you.
The chair would like to recognize Mike Italia to respond.
All right, is this on? Yeah. I just want to clarify something. This isn't a dues increase now. We're not looking for an increase now. We're just asking to raise the cap. I believe the executive director and the president have made it clear that have no intentions on raising the dues next year. So it's more looking for the flexibility so we can determine when we need to do it. I hope that clears things up a little bit.
Chair recognizes the gentleman at microphone 3.
Larry Davison, USBC, Greater Terre Haute Bowling Association. The problem I have with giving you the leeway to go 5 more...
Sir, if you could please speak a little bit closer. Thank you.
The problem I have with giving you guys an extra $5 to raise dues whenever you want to is the same problem we had that a lot of us feel. You moved everything to Arlington. We never had any say-so over it. All the money was spent to move everything to build a new facility, and now we're such a bind financially that you guys are needing more money.
May I respond, Mr. President?
Yes.
Beginning in February and through the first part of March, there were 18 meetings across this country that gave to you ideas, concepts, and tests that we were doing. We have had 2 seminars here and a legislative update. The USBC board has a long-range plan. Any of you that have gone through strategic planning know that a plan is no good unless there is the assurance of funds. We are all, not just the USBC board, but every one of you sitting in this audience should be working toward a goal to create lifelong bowlers. You've heard this morning multiple times that in order to do that, we need to continue testing so that we put the products in your hands. They are something you can use to reach your local association or state association goal of stabilizing and growing membership. There are many things that when you elect a board of directors, whether it is at the local level or the state level, at the national level, that are turned into their hands to manage for you. We did not build a new building when we came to Arlington. We took over an existing office building. But we did build an incredible new training center because we are the national governing body. Each one of you who's in this room, who is a member of a board of directors, has a very serious responsibility of managing your association for benefit and to grow your membership. We've heard a long time about trust. Every one of us in this room needs to put our foot forward in a new direction for all of us to succeed. Yes, we're asking for a lot of trust, but we're also giving you, if you adopt these amendments, tremendous trust. We're not going to price it to where you're not going to have local or state members. That's not even logical. At the local association, are you really going to put your price up so high that you lose your members? Or at the state association, are you going to price it way up there just because you can? We're all business people, or we need to move in that direction. And we need to be able to plan for the future, and we need to be able to know that the funds we have will support those plans.
The chair will recognize the speaker at microphone 1.
Mr. Chair, Yvette
Please,
Davis.
thank you.
Yvette Davis, North Carolina State President. Tamara, you took some of my words, but we're just asking for a cap. That means $5 more where USBC can operate. If you look around this room, I was totally disturbed when I registered to see such a small area for delegates. We have got to support USBC, trust USBC to do the business that we need to go forth, and that's grow this sport. So I'm asking the delegates to take this into consideration. I know we've not always agreed with everything that they've done, but we have to trust them, and you can see the low participation in delegates here. With that, I say I call for the question.
Is there a second on the call for the question?
Keith Cornick, Chicagoland, USBC. I call the question. I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Okay. We will now vote on the call for the question to the proposal of B2 as amended. Polling is now open. Please press 1 to approve and 2 to reject. This requires a 2/3 vote to pass. This is a call for the question, yes. It's not. The screen will show that this is for the amendment, but the results that you will see on the screen will simply be the results of the call for the question. They will not be on the results for the amendment. Is that correct? Are we correct? Yes. Okay. The polls are now closed. By your actions, we will move forward with the voting for the motion B2 as amended, with the count of 70% approving, 30% against. We will now reset the polls. What were the actual numbers? The actual numbers. Not the percentages.
Thank you.
551 for, 238 against.
Thank you.
The polls are now open for vote on the motion to vote on B2 as amended, Article 4, Section E, to allow the caps for the maximum amount the National Board can set on national dues to $15. Please press 1 to approve and 2 to reject. Polls are now closed. By your actions, you have defeated Amendment B2. It's 2/3? Is that 2? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's 2/3. It's been defeated. Yes. You've defeated B2. 59% for and 41% against. A total vote count of 466 for and 325 reject.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I would like to propose an amendment to Amendment B2.
We,
To
Right.
reconsider has to come from the.
Yeah.
from
it's been, B2, sir, B2 has already been rejected. We had called for the question and that had been approved.
It can be reconsidered by somebody who voted on the prevailing side.
You would ask for that? Is that what you're saying?
You can move to reconsider.
Sir, you can move to reconsider Amendment B2.
I would like to move to reconsider B2, but with the following caps, or just reconsideration of it, or can I propose, I can't propose an amendment there? No.
No, you may not.
I'd like to make a motion to reconsider.
Is there a second? We have a second? Yes.
Rod
I recognize the
Polish,
second.
Illinois BA. I will second the motion, Keith.
I think from the delegate standpoint, we trust the people that are up there on the board. Our constituents, our representatives trust us, okay? You look at what the board is doing, you consider it, you look at the technology, and I hope some of you took part in the technology seminars, the things that are there, trying to get everything centralized, all right, so that we're not off there in little worlds of our own. So that's why I would ask everybody to reconsider that and place that trust. We've elected these people up there, all right? Let's place our trust in them.
Is there any additional discussion on the motion to reconsider B2? Oh, the chair would like to recognize the speaker at microphone 1.
Jerry Anderson, Dallas, USBC Bowling Association. Vote no.
The chair will now recognize the speaker at microphone 3.
Mr. President, Tyson Sylvester, President, North County USBC. We understand the proposal of B2 and the reconsideration. However, with past history of statements that we've heard of you have vetted your vendors and you have done these things, and when upwards to a quarter of your membership have not received their cards. You know, I know it's a small item, but those bowlers come to us, and it's really a hard sell for us at the local membership to sell this product of USBC to these bowlers when they see it as the simplest thing. A lot of these first-time bowlers, they don't understand why they're getting the card. And then when they apply for it and don't get the card, then they question it. That's why some of these first-term members don't come back. Long-time members beat us up all the time. Where's my card? Answers we get, go online, print it out. They don't want a printout. They want the actual card. That may be something as simple as that. Awards. 2 times in a row this year, USBC has come out and said, hey, our vendor's having issues. Don't send in your awards. If you do, it may go to the bowler. You can't track it. Okay? We have problems. We understand you have problems. Come out with a plan. Tell us how much you think you need to raise it, and let the delegates vote on that. Not willy-nilly throw a price out to allow you. That's the way we have always done it at the local level, and it allows raises. Tell us what you want and give us your strategic plan, your business plan of why you want to raise it to that price, then let the delegation approve it.
The chair will now recognize the lady at microphone 3.
Hi, Kimberly Stanek Sims, suburban Windy City, USBC. I get a very hostile feel from the membership in this room over things that have happened in the past. If this group is to move forward with any success, we have to put what has happened in the past behind us. We want to put people in the field, we have to pay for them. We want to spread new technology, we have to pay for it. We have entrusted these people with the responsibility of maintaining and growing USBC. What happened in the past, we should put behind us, and we should all be moving forward.
The chair will now recognize the lady at microphone 2.
Laura Heller, local delegate, Rockford, Illinois, USBC WBA. A question for the parliamentarian, please, on a point of order. My understanding on the reconsideration could only be issued by a person who was on the winning side.
That's correct, but you should tell her her question should be directed to you as the chair, not to me as the parliamentarian. You're the only one that prefers questions. Okay. That's number one. Second, she's correct, and you assume that the man was on the winning side.
Ma'am, the chair, that question should come to me, and in speaking with the parliamentarian, that is correct, but I did not know that the gentleman was on the winning side, but we didn't know which side he was on for this. But it does require a majority vote to reconsider. Yeah, we don't know which one. Correct. The chair will recognize the speaker at microphone 1.
Luann Rickett, Metro Phoenix, USBC. It doesn't make financial sense to bind the people that are trying to move us forward. Have you thought about maybe the reason some of the services, such as the cards, are a matter of the fact they don't have the funds and they have to operate by choosing the lowest bidder? Or they have to go with the lower services to keep the things going? Look at all of the other things that they have accomplished, the websites, the media that they're putting out, the TV commercials that you see that have bowling. All of that costs money, and for us to grow the sport, they have to have the flexibility. They are not going to raise rates and prices to discourage the bowlers to bowl. They're already concerned with the fact that we're losing bowlers. Why would they immediately go out and raise $5 to try to discourage them? In our local association, we have a $10 max. This is the first time we've had to consider raising. We've been operating for the whole time on the $7, where most of the country's already gone to the 20 or the 19 plus your dollar. Anyway, we still have $3 we can go. We're not asking on the local level for a full to reach the max. And for them they won't jump to the max. We've got to trust them. We've got to move forward. The old is done and gone. We're not the old associations. We've got a whole new board. We need to look toward it and support our national board.
The chair will now recognize the speaker at microphone 3.
Robert Margette, Minneapolis USBC president. Came to my first convention 20 years ago. We keep not approving any increases. Our membership hasn't gone up in 20 years. Let's keep doing the same thing, strapping our finances, not giving them the tools to grow. I'll be here in 20 more years if there's an organization left.
Chair will now recognize the speaker at microphone 1.
Thank you, Mr. President. Bob Ashley, Vice President, Nation's Capital. You know, I understand what's going on. You're trying to move forward. I was in the seminar where we talked about the web labs and the changes and the upgrades, and those do cost money. I'm in the IT field. I support on a very low budget contract as well, but change is needed. It needs to happen. Now, I submitted an amendment to this to you all, which hasn't been seen yet, and that's fine. I understand what's happened in the past. I know a lot of the delegates still want to have a voice, and that's important, and I believe that as well. But we do need to move forward, and we need to at least allow you to move forward. And we trust you to do that, and I hope everyone else can. And I would like to see this amendment brought back. Thank you.
Chair will now recognize the speaker at microphone 3.
Thank you. My name is Lynn Grace in San Diego. I have a problem with this because of the trust. We voted to merge, and all of us voted, and yet that hasn't been done. First, we need to take care of that issue, save some money where we're spending money on the non-merged association, and then we can look at going forward. Thank you.
Mr. President, may I answer that?
Yes, you may respond.
The original merger proposal that was voted on by the ABC and WIBC delegation at their 2003 convention mandated mergers at the local and state association levels across the board. The 2003 merger proposal was rejected by both WIBC delegates and ABC delegates. A year was spent retooling the merger proposal. It was brought back to the conventions in 2004. One of the major changes was that the local and state associations, by vote of their respective bodies, would have the option of becoming a merged association or going forward as a non-merged. That was adopted. It is not under the jurisdiction of the USBC board, but the delegates who sit here at Assembly to make that a mandate.
The chair will now recognize the speaker at microphone 1.
Mr. Chair, Yvette Davis, North Carolina State President. I can't comment any further, so I'm going to call for the question.
Is there a second? Is there a second on the motion to call for the question?
Mr. President, Gary Foreman,
Yes.
President Orange County USBC, I'll second.
Okay. We will now vote on the call for the question to reconsider Amendment B2. As amended, yes. The call for the question requires a 2/3 vote for approval. Oh, majority. I'm sorry. Oh, is that? No, I'm sorry, the screen is wrong. The verbiage is incorrect on the screen. It is a 2/3 vote to call for the question. I know. The slide was incorrect. Yes. Yes, we're voting now. The polls are now open on the call for the question. It requires a 2/3 vote to approve. Polling is now closed. By your actions, we will now proceed with a vote on the we will now proceed with a vote on the amendment to consider the motion to reconsider B2 as previously amended. The vote on the motion to reconsider B2 is simply a motion to vote again on B2 as it was previously amended and discussed. This is simply the motion to reconsider B2. And this requires a majority vote.
I thought we already voted on the reconsider. I have it down as that we voted on.
The polls are now open on the motion to reconsider B2. Please press 1 to approve and 2 to reject.
Then you go right back to debate as if it was moved and seconded in its original form, $15 cap. but that's it. There's no further, it's an up or down vote on that.
Right.
Yeah. And it's 2/3.
Correct. By your actions, you have approved the motion to reconsider B2 by a vote total of 424 for and 357 against. No. The amended slide.
I know. That's why I want some clarification.
Discussion. Yes.
Andrew.
The motion, yes. We will now proceed with discussion on the amended version of B2, which would cap the maximum amount the National Board can set on the national dues to $15. I would like to reopen discussion on the amendment to B2. Chair would recognize speaker at microphone 1.
Andrew, my name is Anthony Colangelo. I'm the association manager for the Central Jersey Middlesex County Bowling Association. Could we get a better clarification of exactly what we're voting on right now? Because I have to admit, I'm confused at this point.
There was a reconsideration to vote to bring B2 as amended back to the floor. We approved the call for the question, and then you approved the reconsideration of B2 as amended. Now what is open for discussion and consideration is the amendment to B2 that would cap the maximum amount the National Board can set the dues at to $15. That item is currently open for discussion.
Thank you.
Andrew.
Yes. Oh, the chair will recognize Joe Diamond.
Thank you. I've been sitting here listening to the discussion, and I wasn't going to say anything. And you all know, that, never mind. Nevertheless, we just all voted very efficiently with these handy little deals. Are these free? I'm just curious. I have no idea what this technology costs. But this alone, look at the time, the manpower, the confusion, et cetera, that these have saved us. And this is just one thing. And I appreciate what the gentleman remarked earlier about show us this, show. Well, in order to go forward with so much of the things that the strategic plan has put forward, it takes money. And just a simple thing like this voting device, incredibly simple, but very important to the business of this organization. So that's all I wanted to say. There's no free lunch. Thank you.
The chair will now recognize the speaker at microphone 1.
Thank you, Mr. President. Bob Ashley, Nation's Capital. We are bringing back B2 as originally amended. Can there be consideration of another amendment to B2?
No.
Thank you.
Not Chair would like to recognize speaker at microphone 3.
No.
Thank you. Claudia Sinelli, Long Island, USBC, delegate for 28 years through WIBC, attended ABC conventions, and also USBC. I do not have an opposition to raising the dues, but I do have the opposition of not being able to use these voting devices. I would like to still retain to be able to vote at these conventions. That's why we come. That's why our local bowlers and membership vote for us to come and represent them and what's best for the bowlers and them. I'm not opposed to raising the dues, but I do need to have the opportunity to vote to raise the dues.
And we're still going to be voting on things, so we're still going to be using these guys. I realize what you're saying, but we're still going to be using these, either in elections or bylaws or league rules. We're still going to be using them, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. The chair would like to recognize the speaker at microphone 1, please.
Di Tormanen, Metro Phoenix, USBC. I have been in the bowling my entire life, and we are stagnant. We are going nowhere unless we make a move. This trust thing doesn't make sense. We came together as one. We need to be one organization. We need to not use the word trust. They're not raising the dues. They are asking for $5 if they need it down the line. If you've gone to the seminars this year, they have been outstanding. And the technology and the seminars I have gone to are showing us that they are bringing forth new programs. They're not going to do them too early like they did with the youth shirts, etc. They're waiting, they're studying, they're testing. They need the dollars if they need them. That's all they're asking. And we need to come together. And I see people, when we walked in to register, they were already complaining, and we hadn't even done anything. I think the bulk of our delegates come in with a negative attitude before they walk through this set of doors. We need to talk to each other. We need to come together, people. We need to advance.
Chair will now recognize the speaker at microphone 3.
Paula Wolf, York Adams, USBC. The one thing in our local association, we have a lot of bowlers, and we have some leagues that have chosen not to certify with USBC because they don't want to pay dues. We have some bowlers that are going to other centers where leagues are not certified. To a lot of people, our local dues are only $5. To a lot of people, $15 is a lot of money, and they're choosing not to even pay $15. I think that if you don't want a dues increase this year, why are we voting on that now? Why aren't we voting on it next year if you're not going to raise them? And we have to consider people that don't want to pay $15 to belong to an organization that they're not seeing. This is my first year here. I'm a fairly new board member, and I was very impressed with the workshops. I'm very impressed with the technology, but the average bowler doesn't see those things, doesn't care about if the pins are good or bad. They don't care about high technology balls. They just want to go out and have a good time. A lot of retirees, they don't have the $15. So I think if we're going to raise it, we may lose more people where we want to increase the membership.
Chair will now recognize the speaker at microphone 2.
Melinda Calvert, Springfield WBA in Springfield, Illinois, local association delegate. I have been coming for many, many years, and I want to be able to use my association's money to vote on something other than league rules, tournament rules. We no longer get to vote for our board, and I would like to keep the dues in my power.
Chair will now recognize the speaker at microphone 1.
Roger Limer, First Coast USBC President. I have a couple of things that I'd like to bring out to all of you that are out here. First off, in my opinion, I think USBC on their side of the fence needs to modify the award structure they currently give out, go to lifetime awards, which would cut down on our expense and their expenses as well, which would augment some of what we're trying to do here. The second thing I'd like to ask is for all the members that are in here, how many of you have ever heard of a program called Amateur Pool Players Association? Gee, I got 3 hands out here. Their dues are $35 a year. I got a card and a rule book. How about the Professional Disc Golfers Association? How many of you have heard of that one? Gee, I got about 4 hands. Their dues are $50 a year. You get a membership card and the authority to go play in their tournaments. And that's it. So when you stand out here and you talk to me about $20 a year for a membership where you get recognition, you get awards, you get rings in some cases, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and you're going to argue to take them up to possibly 25, or if they continue with this process with the other ones that's coming possibly to 30 because you have the local associations coming up too behind this, we need to move this association in a positive direction. We need to use what we have to improve what we have for our bowlers. This isn't about me. This isn't about anybody sitting in this room. I represent about 4,000 adult bowlers, give or take, and another 1,500 or so youth bowlers. I want to make it better for them. We can't do that sitting on the railroad tracks getting run over.
Chair would like to recognize the speaker at microphone 3.
Yeah, I'm Wade Wakefield from Muskegon, Michigan. You know what? I was sent here to vote for my bowlers, okay? Not for myself, for my bowlers. My bowlers said no raises, okay? I don't know where the debate comes here, but I'm doing what my bowlers told me to do. This is not personal. My bowlers told me to do it. If the bowlers back home said to vote for this, I'd be voting for yes. So that should send you a message. Back home, you would lose more than half USBC members.
Chair will now recognize the speaker at microphone 2, please.
Couple of quick items.
Sir, could you please identify yourself to the delegation?
Sure.
Thank
John Tenney, Panama City, Florida. Belong to 2 other organizations that we have national meetings. It costs on one of them $300 to register for the meeting. On the other one, it costs $250 to register for the meeting. We don't pay anything to come to this meeting except our travel expenses. I'm from a small association. My travel expenses from the association this year are $150. That's what they're allowing me to come to the meeting. The reason is our association doesn't have enough money. You need to look. The National does not have the money to move forward on the things that they want to do. It's been several years since we've given them the opportunity to work. We need to give them the extra money.
Chair will now recognize the speaker at microphone 1.
Rich Foreign, Greater Yellowstone Valley, USBC, out of Billings, Montana. One of the things that I'm sitting here watching, we talk about money, we're talking, and it is a big dues increase. I see bottles of water in here. How many people just bought a bottle of water on break? How many people just bought a cup of coffee on break? If you look at it, there's a water fountain out there. How much does it cost to drink water from a water fountain? 0. How much does it cost to drink a bottle of water? $1.50 or $1. You know, we all buy coffee, $2.50. We don't think about it. We buy foo-foo coffee for $5 a cup. Now, I'm sorry, but when I sit there and think, hey, it's going to cost me 1 cup of coffee a year, where are we sitting? Thank you.
Chair will now recognize the speaker at microphone 2.
John Duncan, Champaign Area Bowling Association Delegate. I respectfully request you call the question.
Yes. That motion to call the question requires a second.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I second the motion. Tyson Sylvester, North County, USBC.
Thank you, sir. We will now take a vote on the motion to call for the question. The polls are now open. Please press 1 on your device to approve and 1 to reject. This would require a 2/3 vote to approve. polls are now closed. By your actions, you have adopted to call for the question. We will now proceed with voting on Amendment B2 as previously amended. We're going to put the slide back up. We will now take a vote on the motion B2 as previously amended to Article 4, Section E, Item 16 of our bylaws that would cap the maximum amount that the National Board can set on national dues to $15. The polls are now open. Please press 1 to approve and 2 to reject. And this would require a 2/3 vote to pass. By your actions, you have rejected B2 as amended. The vote total for was 483 and 312 against. Madam Chairman, you may proceed with B3.
Proposal B3, merge state USBC bylaws, Article 5, Board of Directors, Section A, Board composition, authority, duties. Please note that on the second page of this proposal, it lists those associations in the various state and local bylaws that would be codified if this amendment is adopted.
The motion to remove the maximum limit on the state dues and allow the state board to set dues for the association is now open for discussion. B3. Yeah? Chair will recognize the speaker at microphone 3.
Yes, Pauline Armstrong, San Diego, California, and I'm president of the San Diego USBC. If you read on your financial freedom and flexibility proposals, it said if B2 fails to adopt, the board would withdraw B3 and B4.
When we print it, when we have a deadline by which we have to, we have a deadline to which we publish the proposed amendments as they are known at that time on bowl.com. That statement was printed. During the 18 meetings across the country, we heard loud and clear that there were various camps in regard to support for B2, 3, and 4. Some people were in favor of them, some wanted to amend them, some wanted to reject them. After the 18 meetings, the USBC board met on a conference call, and we made the decision that we would continue to have B2, 3, and 4 on the floor of the convention, but if B2 were rejected in any manner, whether amended or not, we would still give the delegates the opportunity to discuss B3 and 4 as printed, but that we would remove our support. The proposer of any proposed amendment, until it is announced on the floor of the delegation, has the right to amend it or to withdraw it. The the USBC board utilized that option and chose to bring 3 and 4 to this floor for discussion.
The chair would like to recognize the speaker at microphone 2, please.
Lisa Miller-Hobbs, Greater Sacramento Area USBC Association.
Ma'am, could
Okay.
you, thank you.
Lisa Miller-Hobbs, Greater Sacramento Area USBC Association. Here's the use of technology. This is a failure. We should have used the technology. Right now, what you're asking us to do is put trust in you, the state, and our local boards, yet we still can't communicate. That's a problem. So, unfortunately, this puts a big black mark on USBC's face. As the printed documents that we received that were presented to our bowlers, we are going in direct opposition to what we have put out there as communicated. I don't know who the 18 meetings were, but I know that our association did not attend, could not attend, and our bowlers don't know. And I know there's a lot of associations around here that feel the same way. That's my comment.
This communication was put on bowl.com shortly after the 18 stops, because the slides and the entire presentation of the webinars was posted on bowl.com as communication, and this statement was in the presentation, and it was posted.
Chair would like to recognize the speaker at microphone 1, please.
Dennis Brummett, Vice President, Metro Phoenix USBC, as Tamara, however you pronounce it.
It's okay.
If you printed it off of bowl.com, which some of us did, all those statements that are in those articles were there. Now, we've said as a body that we don't trust the board to decide how much of this cap we could give them. So if we don't trust the board, do we trust the state? Do we trust ourselves? If we could, I'd make a motion to reject both B3 and B4.
Sir, that motion would be out of order. Thank you. Is there any additional discussion on Amendment B3? Microphone 1. Chair will recognize speaker at microphone 1.
Pat Zonneville, New York State Delegate. I'm a little confused. The document that was handed to us when we registered still has the same statement in the last paragraph that says that the board recommends adoption of B2 to B4. If B2 fails to be adopted, the board will withdraw 3 and 4. If what you have said, Tamara, is to be believed, this statement should not have been in the document that was handed to us this week.
This document was printed prior to the board making its decision to let this delegation debate 3 and 4.
Excuse me, you just told us that what was on bowl.com was inaccurate. We get here in Arlington, are presented another set of papers that are still inaccurate. Thank you.
Chair will recognize the speaker at microphone 1, please.
Hi, Ann Kelly, Fargo-Moorhead, North Dakota Association. I recommend approving this for the simple fact we are a state that is small in numbers. We have 4,200 women bowlers, and we have to operate on $4,200. You tell me who in this room would be a state association manager and work for less than that. It's a lot of work. What they've had to do is add $5 expense fee to each event at our state tournament. So us state tournament bowlers pay an extra $15 just so our state can operate. And remember that if you approve determining dues, it doesn't mean you have to go over $1. You can stay at $1, but we would like the right to raise ours to $2 or $3. We talked to an association that has 68,000 members in their local. They have a lot of money to work with. We have 4,200. We just want the capability to raise our dues, let our members decide. So I recommend approving B3.
Is there any additional discussion on proposal B3? Chair will recognize the speaker at microphone 1.
Jerry Anderson, Dallas USBC Bowling Association. Vote no.
Is there any additional discussion? Seeing none, we will proceed to take a vote on Amendment B3 to Article 5, Section A, that would remove the maximum limit on state dues and allow the state board to set dues for the association. Please vote 1 to approve and 2 if you wish to reject. The polls are now open. This requires a 2/3 vote to adopt. Polling is now closed. By your actions, you have rejected Amendment B3. We get the totals: 222 for, 561 against. Madam Chair, if you'd like to proceed.
Proposed Amendment B4, merge to local USBC bylaws, Article 5, Board of Directors, Section A, Board Composition, Authority and Duties. Please note that on the second page of the proposal, it will list those bylaws that would be codified if B4 is approved.
Amendment B4 is now open for discussion. Chair would like to recognize the gentleman at microphone 1.
Jerry Anderson, Dallas USBC Bowling Association. Vote no.
Thank you, sir. I will again ask if there is any additional discussion on Amendment B4. Chair will recognize the speaker at microphone 1, please.
Just forgot my question. John Stepke, Florida Space Coast. John Stepke, Florida Space Coast. I just had a question. I'm also a league secretary, vice president of the Florida Space Coast. On all these adjusting, we voted to allow the league to adjust an average. When, as secretary, am I required to?
Sir, that discussion item is out of order. Thank you. Is there any discussion on Amendment B4 that would remove the maximum limit on local dues and allow the local board to set dues for the association? Seeing no discussion, we will now proceed to vote on Amendment B4. The polling is now open. Please press 1 to approve and 2 to reject. And again, as this is a bylaws proposal, it requires a 2/3 vote to adopt. Polling is now closed. By your actions, you have rejected Amendment B4. A total of 166 for, 621 against.
Bylaws proposal number B5, USBC National Bylaws, Article 5, Officers, Section C, Terms. The USBC Board recommends rejection.
Bylaws Proposal B5 is now open for discussion. Chair will recognize the speaker at microphone 3.
Martha Boron, Canton, Michigan, Western Wayne County, USBC, Michigan. When Jim Sturm was elected last summer as the next USBC president, he became the 4th president in the 6 years of this organization's existence. Of the 3 previous presidents, only 2 were elected to the 2nd year, none any further. At that point, I submitted legislation that, if accepted, would allow the delegation to elect the president to a 3-year term. I felt that it was time for the delegation to have a voice in the selection of a president and that she or he serve for a 3-year term, which is why I submitted that legislation. As many in this room know who have or are now serving as presidents of their associations, much of the first year can be spent learning the job. Then ideas for improvement or change benefiting the bowlers can be pursued with their respective boards. Unfortunately, the legislation for the delegation to elect a president was not allowed to go forward, as I was informed that it is in conflict with Wisconsin state law under which USBC is incorporated. However, I still strongly feel that the instability that now exists with the 5th president having to be elected to complete Mr. Sturm's term before the 7th year even came close to being completed is not in our best interest, and I urge a yes vote.
I would like to respond, please.
You may.
The first president of USBC was Mike Carroll. He served 3 years. The second president was Jeff Bourget. He served 3 years. Darlene Baker served 1 year. If Jim Sturm had not taken a position with Reno, he would have continued as president. There would have been a vacancy there, and that would have been filled by the board of directors. Also, unlike many of you at the state and local levels, those of us who serve at USBC are restricted to 3 3-year terms. That would eliminate 1/3 of the board from being eligible to hold those positions. The officer position of president and vice president is a little different at USBC. Most of us have come from experiences either within the bowling association family or the bowling industry, that we have that experience, we have been tested. It's very different from when I first took over as a new president of the Charlotte WBA. Therefore, I urge for you to reject this motion, this amendment.
Is there any additional discussion on Amendment B5? Seeing none, we will proceed with a vote. The polls are now open. Please press 1 to approve and 2 if you wish to reject. The amendment is Article 5, Officers, requires the USBC President's term in office to be a single 3-year term. This would require a 2/3 vote to adopt. Polling is now closed. By your actions, you have rejected Amendment B5. Total vote count is 155 for, 631 against.
Bylaws Proposal B6, USBC National Bylaws, Article 11, Fiscal Year. Please note that this amendment only addresses the national fiscal year. It does not impact nor change the state or local fiscal year.
Amendment B6 is now open for discussion. Seeing no discussion, we will proceed with the vote on Amendment B6 to the USBC National Bylaws, Article 11 Fiscal Year, that would remove the fiscal year from the national bylaws. Polling is now open. Please press 1 if you wish to approve and 2 if you wish to reject. And this also requires a 2/3 vote to approve.
Oh, I forgot to vote.
Polling is now closed. By your actions, you have adopted Amendment B6 by a total vote count of 659 for and 128 against.
Bylaws Proposal B7, Merged Local Bylaws, Article 4, Membership and Dues.
This item is now open for discussion. Would the proposer of this amendment like to speak to it?
The USBC Board recommends adoption. Sorry about that, Andrew, I forgot.
That's okay.
Anthony Colangelo, Central Jersey Middlesex County Bowling Association Manager. I'm not sure how many associations have taken a look at the financial aspect of the March 15th date and how it impacts summer leagues. It impacts us from a monetary standpoint because I have close to 120 bowlers that only bowl during the summer. So they essentially get 2 years of membership for 1 year of payment. They cost the association and USBC the same amount of money as those members that pay every year. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. I'm sure if it's rejected, I do suggest that you go back and you take a look at the numbers. I'm sure you're going to be surprised at how many of your bowlers actually do that. That March 15th date made a lot of sense when there was more of a winter and a summer season. But in today's environment where you have short season leagues, you have late fall starts, you have early spring endings, the March 15th date just doesn't work anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. The chair will now recognize the speaker at microphone 2, please.
Dale Bones, St. Louis, USBC. I am speaking against the amendment. I understand what he is saying, but I contend that you're going to lose more money because you will not get the Summer League bowlers to pay their membership for a month and a half, and you're going to lose more. For the proprietors and for us as association officials, it serves as a selling tool to get these summer bowlers to certify and to become members. So I urge you to defeat the amendment.
Chair will recognize Mike Italia.
When I first read this amendment, and I recently just got elected as the local president, I found that a group of bowlers maliciously would wait to sanction after a certain date so that they get basically they called it the buy one, get one free deal. So I support this amendment. I think from a financial perspective, it'll help our local. And that's about it. Thanks.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment B7? Chair will recognize the gentleman at microphone 3.
Corky Cook, Indy USBC Association Manager. I get calls all the time wanting to know, when do I pay my dues from summer bowlers? They could care less. I support this because they aren't concerned whether they can get 2 for 1. And every summer, they want to pay their dues regardless of the fact of 2 for 1. So I do support this as more income for the association.
Thank you, sir. Is there any additional discussion on Amendment B7? Seeing none, we will proceed with the vote on Amendment B7, Merged Local USBC Bylaws, Article 4, Membership and Dues, that would remove the provision that membership purchased in a summer league receives next season's membership. The polling is now open. Please press 1 to approve and 2 to reject on your devices. And as this is a bylaw, it would require a 2/3 vote to adopt. Polling is now closed. By your actions, you have adopted Amendment B7. The vote totals are 554 and 242 against. At this time, this concludes our 2012 legislative session. I'd like to ask Madam Chair Tamara Adams if she has any additional remarks before we close and break for lunch.
First of all, I want to thank each and every one of you for your attention and your discussion and your thought. Enjoy your lunch, and we'll see you back after lunch.
Before we break for lunch, please be advised that as you leave the assembly area, you are required to surrender your voting device to a member of staff. Upon your return, you will be issued another device. We're going to go into lunch right now. Please be prompt at returning at 1:45 p.m. so we can get started on time. Thank you.